Did you know that two simple consonants were able to transform an ordinary car into one of the greatest icons in Brazilian automotive history? In the 1970s, the Volkswagen Passat TS emerged as a symbol of power and modernity, rivaling giants like Opala and Maverick and conquering the streets with its bold design and surprising performance. Behind its four circular headlights and a motor tuned for our national fuel lies a narrative of overcoming challenges and innovation that captivated a generation and continues to fascinate collectors to this day. Volkswagen Passat TS, the cult of a 70s icon. In the 1970s, a duo of simple yet iconic consonants completely changed the landscape of sports cars in Brazil. TS. These two letters, placed on the rear and sole of the Volkswagen Passat, marked the emergence of a true object of cult on wheels, shaping the automotive imagination of a generation and challenging the competitors of the time. But to understand the impact of the Passat TS, it is necessary to dive into the revolution that the model represented from the start. A revolution in design and mechanics. When the Passat was launched in Brazil, it broke paradigms. In contrast to the rounded and traditional lines of Volkswagen, the fastback displayed a body with straight contours, designed by none other than Giorgio Giugiaro, one of the masters of automotive design worldwide. It wasn't love at first sight. The public, accustomed to the simplicity of Beetles and variants, initially found that modern and futuristic proposal strange. However, it didn't take long for the Passat to become synonymous with sophistication and innovation. Although available in various versions, there was a growing demand for something sportier. At the same time, other Brazilian cars began to flirt with sportiness, such as the Ford Corsa GT. Volkswagen didn't take long to react. 2 years after the Passat was launched in Brazil, in 1976, the Passat TS appeared, a model that promised to unite performance, style, and excitement. The birth of the TS, powerful engine and aggressive look. The most significant transformation of the Passat TS was under the hood. Unlike the more basic versions, the TS was equipped with a 1.6, 1,588 cubic centimeters engine, an evolution of the original 1.5-liter block. The net power was 80 horsepower, and the higher torque, combined with the Solex dual-throat carburetor imported from Germany, ensured the car had agile and elastic response during accelerations. While it wasn't a rocket, the TS impressed. It reached a top speed of 156 kilometers per hour and accelerated from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 13.1 seconds, a remarkable performance for the standards of the time. Changes in the gear ratio also contributed to this result. The longer second and fourth gears gave the car a perfect balance between sporty performance and comfortable driving on trips. These improvements made the TS an efficient machine both in acceleration and cruising speed. But the engine was only part of the story. The TS's appearance also evolved to convey aggression and exclusivity. The front, with its iconic four circular headlights, gave the car a fierce expression. Inside, the three-spoke metal steering wheel and dashboard with a tachometer and additional instruments reinforced the feeling of being in a true sports car. It was a car designed not just to drive but to be admired. Performance versus comfort. The dual face of the TS. The Passat TS didn't stand out only for its power. Its stability in corners was one of the most praised points. Volkswagen managed to develop a suspension setup that made the TS an extremely balanced car, outperforming more powerful rivals like the Chevrolet Opala, Dodge Dart, and Ford Maverick. While these large and heavy cars struggled to maintain composure in corners, the Passat TS did it with ease, earning the admiration of enthusiasts. However, this stability came at a cost. The suspension, tuned for performance on asphalt, didn't filter the irregularities of Brazilian streets well, transmitting vibrations to the cabin and generating discomfort for passengers. Additionally, the low-profile tires contributed to the sensation that the TS shook on poorly paved roads. It was as if it felt at home only on smooth roads, far from the imperfections of urban asphalt. Transmission issues and final adjustments. In the early versions of the TS, a recurring problem troubled drivers. The shifter, this component which controlled gear changes, often malfunctioned, leaving drivers stranded during quick shifts. Fortunately, Volkswagen corrected this defect starting with the 1977 version, making the car more reliable and enjoyable to drive. With this improvement, the Passat TS consolidated its reputation as one of the most desired cars of the decade. Its superior performance was proven in comparisons made by major automotive magazines of the time, such as the tests published in August 1976 and April 1978. In both cases, the TS outperformed rivals like the Corsa GT and Chevette GP in performance and stability, showing that it was more than just a good-looking sports car. The exclusivity of the 4 headlights and visual unification. One of the most striking elements of the TS has always been its front with 4 circular headlights. This detail gave the car a unique personality, distinguishing it from other Passats. However, in 1979, Volkswagen decided to unify the design of the entire Passat line, replacing the round headlights with new dual rectangular headlights. Although more modern, these headlights were met with some resistance by fans of the model. Today, the few Passat TS cars with the original 4-headlight front have become true rarities. Collectors and enthusiasts dedicate themselves to hunting down these units, preserving the history and legacy of the model in its purest form. The end of an era, the transition to the GTS. Production of the Passat TS continued until 1982 when the line underwent a restructuring. The following year, the sports model lost its exclusive engine, and the entire Passat family adopted the 1.6 engine as standard. The TS was replaced by the Passat GTS, which tried to maintain the sporty spirit but lacked the same shine as the previous version. In 1984, the 1.8 engine from the Santana brought back some of the sportiness to the Passat, but the time of the TS had already passed. That car, which for a few years was an object of desire and admiration, became a legend of the national automotive industry, present in the emotional memories of car enthusiasts. Legacy: the Passat TS in collectors' memories. The Passat TS was not just a car, it was a symbol of modernity and innovation. Even after so many years, its presence is still striking at classic car meets and collectors' clubs. The model became an icon not only for its performance or design but for the whole package. It was a car that balanced power, style, and dynamic behavior, putting Volkswagen in the spotlight of the Brazilian automotive scene at the time. Moreover, the TS marked an era when cars were more than just means of transportation. They were extensions of their owners' personalities. Every detail, from the round headlights to the metal steering wheel, carried its own identity. This individuality made the TS more than just a product, it became a legend. Today, finding a Passat TS in good condition is like uncovering a hidden treasure. Collectors who possess these relics not only hold a piece of automotive history, but also preserve part of the spirit of freedom and daring that marked the 70s. Conclusion: a sports car that defied time. The Volkswagen Passat TS was much more than a sporty version of a family sedan. It represented a break from the past and a leap into modernity. In a period when cars were designed more by tradition than by innovation, the TS showed that it was possible to combine performance, style, and balance in a single package. Although its reign lasted only a few years, the legacy of the Passat TS continues to live on today. It not only conquered the streets in the 70s but also secured its place in history as one of the most iconic models ever produced in Brazil. And, like any legend, its value only grows with time. If you enjoyed it, please share, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to not miss any updates. Thank you very much for watching.